back to my channel, and if you're new to the channel or you've forgotten who I am, I'm Jess. I run Jess Hall Cooks on Instagram and TikTok, and I'm kind of new on YouTube, so be gentle with me because I know my lighting audio setup is not ideal at the minute, but I am working on that. But today I wanted to show you how to make I'm calling it my, are you ready for this? It's a very, very long name. Anti-inflammatory, gut-friendly, super green soup that's high in protein, high fibre. Anything else? No, I think that's everything. I know we're hitting a lot of trendy keywords there, but really this isn't a trendy soup. It's just a soup that is very, very nutrient dense. It's a great one for batching at the beginning of the week, so that if you have a few bowls of this throughout the week, you're just getting a really, really nice hit of all those nutrients. And it is, of course, very delicious. So I'm going to talk you through all the ingredients that I've laid out here and why we're using them. I'm going to start the base of the soup with leeks, which are packed full of prebiotic fibre, which essentially helps feed your good gut bacteria and supports digestion and immune health. Garlic, of course, which contains a compound called allicin, which has antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory properties. So that's nice, especially at this time of year. One of my favourite things in the world, edamame, which is really, really high in protein. And did you know it contains all 9 amino acids? So it's a great, great source of protein and they're just delicious. I will say, and I'm not sure why this is, but edamame is actually quite expensive. You can buy it frozen, which obviously makes it a bit cheaper, but because it is a little bit more expensive, you could replace this with peas. If you can, I would stretch to some edamame for this soup. Speaking of expensive things, you will also need some extra virgin olive oil. You could use other oils if you wanted to. This is so expensive at the minute, it is unbelievable. It's really rich in polyphenols and healthy fats, and fat is really, really needed in what we eat generally because it helps us to absorb fat soluble nutrients in other foods. So the nutrients in the cavolo nero, the edamame, the leek, everything. There are a lot of fat soluble nutrients that your body really can't absorb without those healthy fats in. So that is another reason why olive oil is so great. Cavolo nero, you could also use regular kale. This means A, K, C, and it's also a really good source of fibre, so we want lots of that. And then for a source of even more fibre, protein, so many nutrients, too many to list. I love a bean. You need any kind of white bean for this. You can use cannellini, haricot, or butter bean, and they're going to be blended into the soup, so get something nice and cheap. Really, really good for us, but we're also adding this for a bit of creaminess because we're going to blend this soup and it will give it that really nice thick velvety creamy texture. And speaking of creaminess, I am also going to add a bit of double cream because if there's one thing about me, I love me some butter and cream. Hey, that's all the ingredients. Let's get on and make the soup. I love recipes like this where you throw everything in one pan so you can make a big batch and then you have something really easily to hand that's really nutrient dense and gives you a hit of all the good stuff to boost your nutrition throughout the week. Just make sure you strip the cavolo nero leaves from the stems because they're quite bitter, and then sweat the leek and garlic in the olive oil, and once they've softened, season them as the cavolo nero, edamame or peas, your butter beans or cannellini beans or whatever beans you've chosen to go for. And then you're just going to cover all of that with your stock of choice. That could be a chicken stock, a vegetable stock, whether it's homemade or shop bought, whatever works for you really. I would just encourage you to go for the most delicious option you can. Now I'm just going to let it bubble away for about 10 minutes and then leave it to cool for a little bit before I blend it, because if there's one thing I'm not going to do, it is blend hot liquid in a blender, because I wish to see tomorrow. And while we let it cook and cool, I'm gonna make some croutons because I've got a bit of stale bread in the cupboard that needs using up, and this is a perfect way to do that. I actually have a fun, if a little bit ridiculous story to tell you associated with this very loaf of rye bread. I think it was in May this year, I was given a Lidl gold bakery card, which basically means that for a whole year, every single day I can go to that bakery and get whatever I want, one item of whatever I want, a loaf of bread, a cruffin, you know, you get the idea. Now I don't live near a Lidl, but my mum and dad do, and if there's anything my dad loves, it's a freebie. So out of the generosity of my heart, I gave my dad my gold card, and he has been driving my mum insane because he's been hoarding these rye loaves. He's been shoving them in the freezer. They've now ran out of room in the freezer because he's eating nearly a loaf a day, I think, at this point, to keep up with the influx of these rye loaves. He loves them. He couldn't resist. He had to get another one, and there was no room. My mum's banned him from collecting anymore, so he gave me this loaf of bread. As you can see, it's a bit stale, so this is what I'm going to make the croutons out of. Now, I quite like a big crouton, so I'm going for quite big chunks of this rye bread and just tearing it with my hand so that you get nice gnarly edges. Just toss them with olive oil and salt, and I just put them in the air fryer for a few minutes. And then while they're baking and getting nice and crispy, we're going to finish the soup off by adding all of the broth to a blender. Make sure it's cooled slightly before doing this. That is very, very, very important. Add that back to the pan to warm through. Add a little bit of double cream. That is optional, but I really do think it makes a big difference. And then you're ready to serve. And I know a lot of people don't think of soup as a complete meal, but this really is, because it has all of the protein, all of the fibre. It's got the croutons, so a nice source of carbs. So even though it looks super green and super healthy, it is very, very substantial and filling and delicious. And there you have it. Delicious, anti-inflammatory, high protein, high fibre, gut health friendly soup. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, and if you did, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.